Peter, the Global Director for Women on the Front Lines, and I'm here with Vita Panico, our European Director. And we want to talk to you today about our upcoming conference that we are hosting in North Carolina in March. And some of you watching have been to a Women on the Front Lines conference in the past, and some of you haven't. So we want to tell you about our conferences and why we're so excited about this conference. And what can you expect? Is a Women on the Front Lines conference typical? Is it different? Let's talk about all that. So Vita, our conference is called It's Time. Tell the ladies what that means.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I know that the title, It's Time, is resonating with so many people because I get comments all the time from people saying, wow, this really spoke to me. We get messages on our social media saying, I need more information about this. God is speaking to me about this too. So it is time, and it is time. What is it time for? It's time for breakthrough. It's time for us to step into the fullness of our promises. It's time for us to step through the barriers. Also, I'll say it this way, the false barriers that have been holding us back from stepping fully into what God has assigned and designed for us for this season. But I also want to speak to some of you who've been to Women on the Front Lines conferences in the past. And for you, I want to say something that I hope will hit your heart the way that it hits mine, which is it's time to come back to the front lines. Because I don't know about you, Wendy, but I've seen so many women, especially in these last several years, really get hit hard and feel sidelined by life in general and circumstances. And it's time for them to get right back to the front line of the design that God has for them. And this is the season for that.
That's so awesome. And I know some of the topics that'll be spoken on at this conference, I'm doing a message called It's Time to Step Out from the Shadows. We have some amazing breakout speakers coming to this event, but I want to talk to you a little bit about what is a Women on the Front Lines conference like. I went to my first one in 2015, and in that season, Women on the Front Lines had been started by James Gall and Michael Ann Gall in 1997. It was a small gathering of women in Nashville at Belmont Church. Mm-hmm. And it was saying it was time for women to have a voice. And it was back then, right? It was time for women to actually be allowed to be in ministry. Now, we've come a long way, as the saying goes, but there's a season right now that it's time for. And when I went to my first Women on the Front Lines conference, Patricia King was leading it. And it was a season where conferences were getting really bigger and more amazing. And I remember walking in and going, wow, what is this? All these women worshiping God as hard as they could. And there was, it was just very powerful. There was, people doing flags, and it was a full on worship event and powerful preaching. Under our leadership of Women on the Front Lines, which I began to lead in 2019, we were coming into a different season. And one of the key words in that season was the word mobilization. Yeah. And so Women on the Front Lines has always had this mission statement that is to empower, equip, and mobilize. And then under our leadership, we actually changed that up a little bit to be empower, equip, mobilize, and connect. So how does that affect the way we do conferences? I know if you've been to conferences, women's conferences, a lot of times it can be very spectator based. Like you come, you sit and you watch a speaker at the front, and then maybe they pray for people after. But because Women on the Front Lines is a training ministry where we are raising women up, our conferences are different. We actually have full-on participation. We break into groups for discussion, small groups before every message. We do ministry within small groups. You cannot come to a Women on the Front Lines conference without getting completely activated. In fact, I met you really, early on in Women on the Front Lines and did a conference with you. But the last conference that we did, you got onto the on-ramp for Women on the Front Lines. And here you are a couple of years later. Can you tell us about that journey and how just coming to Women on the Front Lines events really impacted you and the call of God on your life?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the word Women on the Front Lines really inspired me. And I listened to the Lord, who said to me, you need to connect. You need to connect with Wendy. And so some of us just really need to hear, what is God saying in this season? Because right alignment is everything in this season. But when I finally connected with you, you came in to our church. You did a small workshop for our ladies in our church, and everyone was inspired, everyone was motivated, everyone was moved. And then I got onto the track of working with you, being in prayer with the ministry team, and helping to lead prayer and helping to build out what the next season was going to look like. And also, we got to our first global conference, which completely changed my life. Completely changed my life. I knew that God was doing something, and some of you are going to hear yourself in this story. I knew that God was saying things are going to change, but I didn't know what was going to change, how it was going to change, when it was going to change, why it was going to change. But I knew it had to change because the grace for so many things had lifted off of my life, things that I had been doing for decades and felt calm and comfortable and like I knew what I was doing in. God was saying, this is not your season anymore. And I could tell because it just wasn't right. And I just kept trying to figure out what is it that I'm supposed to do, God? Should I go here? Should I go there? And he kept saying, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. We went to this amazing conference, which God did so much for so many people at that conference. I still hear stories today about how God on-ramped many people, but for my life, he gave me the answer for what was next in my life, something I would have never imagined that would have happened. And what, in one word, he made it clear that I was to go back to my roots. And I could tell that whole story another time, but I was sent back to my roots, and God on-ramped me to now being the European director for Women on the Front Lines. I'm living in Italy. Everything in my life has changed, but there is such a grace on my life, and there is such a favor on my life now that really had lifted off the last season. And I would not have been here had I not obeyed that draw and that call to connect and to align with Women on the Front Lines. And I certainly, if I had not come to that conference, that nothing would have looked right. It would never have changed. I needed that key. So
that's such a powerful story.
What I would say.
Oh, that's great. And I think what I would want to address out of that is we as women, though, you know, a lot of conferences, they get advertised as this will be the conference that changes your life. And then you get on a car and you spend money, you get a hotel room, you go there, and it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same, and things don't happen. And that can be very disappointing. And actually, I've met women who say, I don't go to women's conferences. Oh my gosh, like they're just the same. And so that was part of what motivated us to change the way we do conferences. How can we change it so that women have a full-on participation? How can we change it so they feel seen and heard and known at the conference? And so it's a different experience. I can tell you that. My life was very impacted, obviously, when I began to go to Women on the Front Lines conferences, because I went out of really hearing in my heart, go to Arizona, which led me on a path where I briefly met Patricia King. And I remember thinking, I need to go back to a Women on the Front Lines conference. Little did I know, my destiny as the new global director for Women on the Front Lines was waiting. And if I think back, if I had not listened to the Lord, listened to the drawing of my heart at that season and said, I can't afford it. I actually remember a moment I was sitting on a plane, and the ticket was pretty expensive. I can't remember exactly how much, but in that season, I remember this sort of mental assault of, you're so foolish, you're spending all this money to go to this thing. But I went in faith because I knew that I was not okay with how things were staying the same in my life. There were things that were in me, dreams that needed to be brought to the front, things that I felt called to do. And I could not figure out how to get into that from where I was. That was really what was going on for me. And I think that is really the template that brings women in the door to Women on the Front Lines. And when we began to define, like, what is this ministry? What is this mission? It was, this ministry needs to create accessible on-ramps for women into their places of destiny and influence. And if we don't actually do that, if we just talk about it and it's only ever one person up at the front, that's not success. Unless we begin to see women who show up at a conference 1 year and 2 years later they're running their own ministry or they're helping lead us, you know, they feel mobilized, then we're not succeeding. I remember sitting and talking to Patricia King, and saying, I love the big conferences, Patricia, but what happens on Monday morning? I feel like that's what we have to solve. Because you go to the conference, you feel mobilized, and then you go home. And so part of what we offer with Women on the Front Lines is the Arise Leadership Academy and Community, which we launched in 2023, which is growing globally, and which we give for free to any of our partners who partner at $1 a day. It's the best deal in town. And the reason we did that, actually, it has to be an accessible on-ramp. People actually say to us, what's the catch? No, that's what God said to do. God told us to do it that way. So we did it. But when I began to go to the conferences, I encountered God in very powerful ways, not just the fact that it led to where I am, but I remember going through a season where I had a prodigal son. My son was in drugs and alcohol, and he was really, he was really lost. And it was at that conference that God really showed me that as a mother, I was working harder on his life than he was, and that I needed to put him on the altar and release him. And there was a whole process that happened out of that decision at the conference, where now he is restored to God. He came back from near death as a drug addict, and he is one of the most devout Christians in our family in this day, married, very happy, serving God. So that came from a Women on the Front Lines moment.
Amen.
You know, I remember another moment at one of the conferences where Heidi Baker was speaking. And that year when I went, for some reason, they gave us a key with a ribbon. It was like a gift. It was and I still have it. I should have brought it to this video with me. And she said, being with the Lord is like a room. It's like having a hotel room that can go to anytime you want.
Mm-hmm.
God's given you a key, but it's up to you if you use the key. And I'm sitting in the conference and I have the key in my hand that we've been given. And it actually had a transformative effect on my time with the Lord. I began to really take the key, put it into the lock, and unlock the door of the secret place on a greater level. So there's these moments of encounter that happen. And we felt, as we were planning this conference, we don't have them every single year because we do them when the Lord puts it on our heart. And we felt that it was time for some things. And I'm just going to read you this off of our website. I'm going to pull up actually the slide that we have. Let me see if I can do this. There you go. This is the slide for It's Time. You can see the clock's on fire there. And this is what we're saying about it. There are moments in life where each of us realizes it's time. It's time to step into a long-held dream. It's time to break free. It's time to step out of the shadows. It's time to take a stand for what God is doing in this season in the earth. You do not have to stand alone. There is a powerful movement of women gathering around the globe to say yes together. So join us at this conference for a time of supernatural acceleration and divine alignment into your next place of assignment. So that is what we are saying about the conference. But what God is doing in the conference is He's meeting each of you personally. So the conference will be from March the 12th to 14th. It's going to be in North Carolina in a place called High Point. You fly through the Triad Airport there. There's all the information on our website. The top left of the screen is a QR code. You can just hold your phone up there. It'll take you to our website. Otherwise, just go to WOFL, F for Frontlines, right? WOFL.org. And all the information is there. And if you can't possibly get there for some reason, we will be also live streaming the conference. And, we've also had testimonies from women who said, I attended my live stream. I had some girls over. We had a watch party and we got encountered by God. So we just don't want you to miss out. We're putting it out there. In the next few weeks, I'm going to be interviewing some of those people you see on the screen, talking to Vita today. Vita, you're calling women back to the front lines. Vita's written an amazing book called Gatekeepers Arise, where she actually teaches you how to take your position of influence into the places God has called you to, what God is doing in women and men in this season to call upon the gatekeepers. And so when she's saying it's time to come back to the front lines, she's serious about it. Final words, Vita, as you encourage women to come to this conference.
I'm seeing a couple of our ladies in the comments here going, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Donna's on there and she's from the church that's hosting us. She's like, we can't wait to host you. They're going to host us so well. We're so excited to be there. But listen, ladies, it is time to come back to the front lines. And many of you have been to a conference in the past, and it's been a long time since you've come. We want to invite you back. You're so welcome. So those of you who've never been to a conference, come to the conference. It will mark your life. I promise you that. We are spending every single day in prayer for this conference, for the community. We believe that God is going to meet us in glory there, and you, if you come. And also, we believe that there's going to be a residue left in the location once we're gone. That's what we're activating with our faith. And so for those of you who are really excited about really connecting with like-hearted, like-minded people, this is for you. For those of you who need a key for your next season, it is time for that. For those of you who just need answers, it is time for that. We're calling you back to the front lines. We're calling you to the front lines. We're calling you to step forth and break through into your new front line.
That's so good. And so I want to speak just personally to a few of you as we're closing out. You might be carrying a dream like, I've always supposed to write a book, or I was supposed to become a platform minister, or I'm supposed to minister in this season and I don't know how. This, if not now, then when? That would be my question for you, because you're not going to have a better opportunity. We're even having a breakout session. We just came out of a meeting with a lady who is going to coach you in how to do modern ministry. How do you live stream? How do you get online? How do you get afraid of being on camera? How do you present these things? How do you use all these new tools that are out there? Kind of feels scary sometimes, right? Well, we actually have a breakout session where you can be trained in that. So a lady named Kelly Osman is one of our breakout speakers. She's going to be doing that. So you're going to hear from, I just want to bring that poster up again. You're going to be hearing from the next few weeks, James Gall, Prophet James Gall, wonderful father over the faith. He founded Women on the Front Lines. Mama Patricia King, she carried it for years. She is our spiritual mother over this. Prophetess Ruth Mashacapri, she is amazing. She is actually going to coach people in moving in the spirit and different things that, maybe you've been hungry for. Brandy Bell, we decided that we're going to host every time we do a big conference, something called Miracle School. And I'm going to do an interview with her in a couple of weeks about what that'll look like, because we don't want spectators. God wants participants. And if you don't know how, then you can't participate. We're going to be doing some coaching with that. Jamie Lynn Wallno, she is all about the next generation and being set apart women. And she's going to be speaking about the next generation. And so that's our keynote lineup. And we have a number of women doing breakouts sessions on health, on all kinds of things. It's just amazing. Healing through art. These ladies are so gifted. And so you're going to get a chance to get equipped across the board. But beyond that, I would say that the funnest times of my life have been at these conferences. I've laughed the most. We've laughed till we cried. It's just been an amazing time. We have lifelong friendships that have come out of these conferences. So we just don't want you to miss out. And if you're feeling like, well, I don't think I want to come alone, I don't know anyone, I'll tell you a secret. I had to go to conferences a lot alone as a leader. And I could never meet anyone, just because you don't want to insert yourself into people's lives. So we decided we're going to push out the spirit of rejection from Women on the Frontlines conferences. And we have a big banner that says, find a friend here. And all you have to do if you're alone is at the end of each session, you go stand at that banner, and people purposely go up there to just meet new people, go for lunch together. I can guarantee you will come home with friends. You will never feel alone in these conferences unless you hide in the bathroom and won't come out. But they'll probably still come in and find you and bring you in, because that's how amazing our ladies are. So thanks for joining us for this little chat. We would love to see you in North Carolina, March 12th to 14th. And so ladies, it's time. We hope we see you there. Take care.
Bye.